this Europa League Conference Final and Weekend Review Picks edition of the Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 100 times your entry with the Underdog Fantasy Pick'em. Sign up with our code PLGP to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code PLGP. And we're also brought to you by the Mega Memorial Merch Sale. 15% off everything in the SGPN merch store with the promo code SGPN May. Welcome, everybody, to the Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford, coming to you from Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England. Today is, no idea, Monday, May the 27th, and we are here to have a pick around the weekend action. There was 3 big finals took place. We'll have a little look at some odds for next season, Premier League, relegation, top 4, championship, and it is the Europa Conference League overrated tournament, but that competition will be on Wednesday night, so we'll make a pick for that as well. Joining me, as ever, is Mr. Barry Penaluna. Barry, I've gone off the idea of that trip to Roslav. I just don't fancy it anymore, so you can count me out. That's all right.
Yeah, a load of crap. Who wants to be in that playing Thursday night football anyway? Not me.
The second I Googled how long it would take me to drive the van there, that was the fucking end of it. I completely mushed it, didn't I?
I did look at flights last week as well. The flight, you can only book flights 1 year ahead. So it turned out you would have had to wait till this week to be able to book a flight to Wrocław for next year's Europa Conference League final. So fortunately, I didn't do it.
Callum was in the chat before we started asking if the Christmas party fund was going up because we were a couple of minutes late. And basically, why we started late was me and Baz were listing all the Man United fans that would come in the chat to give us a little bit. We thought they'd be queuing up. Serial being chief among the contributors, but he's not here yet, unless they're all buying their time in the back. His family and Lloyd Owen. Harry's having a little chip down at the bottom. Chelsea.
I think Harry wanted Man City as well because obviously Chelsea got relegated from the Europa League to the conference without playing a game.
Cousin Mush, hello, Cousin Mush is here. Talking about Mush, if you think I just mush Newcastle, Cousin Mush is the greatest Mush artist of all time. Congratulating me on my pick in the Preakness. I haven't paid him to say that. Thanks, Mush. How you doing? Welcome along. Yes, Saturday, Barry, was really quite an unbelievable turn of events, wasn't it? Even when Newcastle aren't playing and Manchester United were involved, we thought for the first time ever that we'd got one over on them. And then all of a sudden, even though we weren't there, they still managed to do what they've done for the 40-odd years of our life and completely screw us over. So we'll talk about the knock-on effect of Newcastle in a little minute because it's not everyone's priority, Barry. It was just a baffling game. I'll tell you, first thing, I actually quite enjoyed watching City get beat. I didn't mind that. It was just, obviously, I didn't want Man United to win for various reasons, but I didn't mind watching City lose. I could do with a bit more of that. They could do with losing a little bit more. I think it's just the teams who beat them I need to be a bit more careful with. Baffling how Man United can be so bad all the time and still have won 2 trophies in the last 2 years. Didn't really understand that. That throws into question Ten Hag's future as well. I would be delighted if he stayed on because I don't think you can take Saturday as a good example of what they've been like. I think you have to take the other 99% of the time and when they've been absolutely shite. And then even the bets, majority of everyone was on Manchester City kind of props. But one of my main picks was the under 2.5 goals. So even Onana forgetting to sew his hands on and throwing that one in the 90th minute just summed up my day. I was like, oh, fucking brilliant, yeah. So not only has everything gone tits up, but totally needlessly, my bet's now gone down as well in the last minute. and that didn't help me out in any way. So that was pretty much my view of it all, Baz. You?
Yeah, I mean, I get your point a little bit about seeing Man City lose is refreshing sometimes, albeit it depends who they're playing. They deserve nothing. I mentioned in the last few weeks about how Man City sometimes can be quite a dull team to watch, and they weren't entertaining at all on Saturday. Loads of possession, but they didn't create much at all. And Man United were good value for that 2-0 lead throughout the game, and they got exactly what they deserved from it. As you say, it is completely baffling how that Man United can turn up like that, or turn up like they did in the second half of Liverpool games, and yet every other week absolutely stink the place out. But they did play well. They did deserve it. Can't have any complaints. My bet's absolute garbage. I took City handicap. What else did I have? Foden shots on goal. I don't think he had one. And I had a bet builder, which again was pretty ludicrous. So terrible day all round for me, the FA Cup final.
The game was weird because I don't say Man United played well. They didn't play that well. They did a job, and once you get gifted a 1-0 lead, because the game was going to form really, was Man City trying to break them down. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they get gifted a goal, and that completely changed it. The second goal was
well leading up to that, Malcolm. They've had the better chances leading up to that. They played with more intensity, and they put Man City under a lot of pressure at the back. Yeah, they had a couple of good moments before it. So the goal was a gift. But some of that was forced on them by the amount of pressure Man United were putting on them early on. They did get at them early.
That second goal was absolutely outstanding, that Man United goal. The ball from Fernandes and the finish from Manu was absolutely top class. Probably early in the season, people were saying that Lewis Miley should be ahead of Manu in the queue for anything. Newcastle fans getting really parochial about everything. And then Man City never looked like scoring at all. I never, ever thought they were going to get back into the game, even when Haaland hit the bar. Like Callum's just pointing out that Haaland's a small game player. He didn't do much. Harry saying that City had 3 shots on target, and 2 of them were 30-yarders from Kyle Walker. So, yeah, I didn't ever think City were getting back into the game, even a little bit. So that was the end of that. Just briefly, I think some of our Newcastle supporting listeners, Baz, will want us to touch on that. There's 2 sides to the conversation. Because as fans, we said last week, we wanted to be in it because why not? Do you know what I mean? We've seen West Ham win it. Villa really should be in the final. It's something you can win. It's more football. I can take the kids to a Thursday night game and watch them play against whoever it is. And it's a chance to win something. So for me, I'm all for it. Like, people have been wetting their neckers a little bit about whether it affects Bruno and Isak staying. Well, I don't think their future depends on a game on a Thursday night against Jagiellonia Białystok. Do you know what I mean? I've spent all day practicing Jagiellonia Białystok just to make sure I got it right, by the way. They're not staying whether or not we're playing in that competition. They probably wouldn't even played most of the games, would they? Let's be honest. It would have been Calvert-Lewin, our reserve striker, and Lewis Miley playing on a Thursday night. And if you look at our transfer window last year, it was Harvey Barnes, it was Lewis Hall, it was Tino Livramento. So we weren't bringing in those big Champions League players. It was a different kind of recruitment process. So I don't think it affects too much. We just have to make the most of it by playing 38 games, plus the League Cup and the FA Cup, like Tottenham should have done this year. Just make the most of it and make sure we're big and strong and pick up points when Chelsea, Villa, Manchester United, the Europa League and the Conference League teams are having a bit of a struggle through the winter like we did. We need to make sure we put them to the sword. So that would be my take on that, Baz.
Yeah, I mean, you said before we came on, it had really wound you up. It was still annoying you. And I just said, for me, I was over it quite quickly. Don't get me wrong. I wanted us to finish above Man United. We did, but I wanted it to mean something a bit more. I wanted the European football, absolutely. But Sean's in the chat as well. Sean never watches this live. He's a Mackham TikToker. Mackham. He's only here for this bit where we talk about Newcastle not getting into Europe. But yeah, I think a few people got far too carried away afterwards. Like Newcastle fans last week were like, brilliant, good finish to the season, finished 7, European football, bosh. we'll have this. And then suddenly a result that didn't involve Newcastle, and it was meltdown again. And Eddie Howe should have to answer some questions and all of this lot. And I don't think the game changed anything in terms of the season. We know where it went wrong. We know the problems we've had. And hopefully less games next year will affect that. I agree with you. If Bruno and Isak were going to leave this summer, they're going to leave regardless of whether we're in the Europa Conference League or not. If Bruno decides he wants to go to Man City, you're quite right. Thursday night football isn't going to be the game changer for him. They'll either give us another year or they won't. And I don't think anything really matters there. And similarly, when you talk about players we might bring in, I don't think we were necessarily going to be looking at the type of players who would turn us down for that reason. I was over it fairly quickly. Will I be frustrated? Was I frustrated on Saturday? Absolutely. Because of the stupidity of it, because of how many times do we see just when things look like it should be wrapped up with Newcastle United, it isn't quite wrapped up. And of all the teams to throw it away, Man City on their 35-game unbeaten streak to go and blow it was comical. But there we are.
Yeah, well, that was it. I think it's because it actually happened on Saturday. That was one thing. But it didn't actually happen on Saturday. It happened the week before when we went to Man United and got beat. It happened when we couldn't beat Brighton at home the week after.
Absolutely.
It happened when we went to Luton, and twice we couldn't beat Luton when we went to Bournemouth. It happened a lot of different other places. So the Saturday thing was that's just how it is. They might, if you notice, I'm in a different environment tonight, Barry. I've come into the conservatory. I'm still in leafy NE3, but I've come in the conservatory for various reasons. One is Bob is fast asleep on the sofa because he was out till 5 a.m. Well, sorry, he wasn't out till 5 a.m. He didn't go to bed till 5 a.m. with his mates. So he's gone to sleep on the sofa. So I've come out here. And also, Baz, the noise, there's a World War II bunker out here. And the kids all play on it. So you might hear some kids. You can probably see some kids standing on it. The noise you also just heard, which confirms I'm in NE3, was the police helicopter going above. So that tells you that I'm not anywhere exotic. I'm still very much in Newcastle. You can see my lovely garden, though, Baz. You know, I like getting into things. Can you see the nice colour scheme there on the ornamental grasses? What's been killing me, Baz, is the slugs. So I had it was a stick, but I called it the Slugmaster 3000. And I used to go out and bash the slugs with it on a night time like a madman. But the Slugmaster 3000 broke. So I went to my friend's house yesterday, Steve Brown. Steve Brown handcrafted, Barry, this. So this is the Slug Pro RS. Look, it's got a little bit of string on there. You can get it round. It's got a handle. It's branded with the word Slug Pro RS there. So when I came in a bit pissed last night, I was out there creating merry hell with the Slug Pro RS. And tonight, the IT department suggested I put broken eggshells around the bottom of all the plants because that slices up their little sluggy guts. So that's what I was doing 10 minutes before we started. I was putting my broken eggshells out, Baz. So that's what's going on back there. The other two games, Baz, we done all right, didn't we? We picked some winners. Tell you what, we'll get to those ever so briefly. I'll tell you first about the college baseball tournament starts on Friday. Noah Beanick, one of my favourite colleagues here, has got you covered with the college baseball experience, daily picks, regional previews and more. And obviously, don't forget the Mega Memorial Merch Day sale, 15% off everything with the code SGPN May. We've got the NBA playoffs, Underdog Fantasy, in making that a ton more exciting. It's the easiest place to play fantasy sports. You can play the pick'em game. It's as simple as selecting high or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and plenty more. All your entries can be basketball. You can mix and match with different sports. Underdog is available in over 30 states, including California, Texas, and Canada. Loads of different promos running on X. If you follow that at Underdog Picks, you'll get NBA playoffs promos there. So sign up with our code PLGP to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code PLGP. Right. Yeah, so the other two games, if you take the 3 games, Baz, we ended up in profit. All right, I think you did as well. And what we did was took the 2 head-to-head records.
Full disclosure, my picks were shite, Malcolm.
Were they? I thought you picked Southampton as well.
I picked Southampton, but I got the Scottish Cup wrong and the FA Cup wrong. You? And obviously,
we've gone through the FA Cup, so that's none. So I hit Celtic on the money line, which was a bit weird because I kept flicking over between the two. When I saw Rangers score, and then I flicked back a bit later, it got disallowed. It got disallowed several minutes after the event, for what I'm not sure. And then I flicked it back on in the 90th minute, and I actually saw the Celtic goal. Celtic scored a lucky rebound. So Celtic hit. And then Southampton hit it, 21-10, Southampton plus 210. Really a nothing much game. They made a chance. They took their chance. Leeds huffed and puffed. They hit the bar with 10 minutes left. But that was about it. And the handicap on both of them games, Baz, was a head-to-head record. Celtic had won 3 out of 4 against Rangers. Southampton had beaten Leeds twice, who weren't in good form. And the way Leeds had finished the season, you just had a feeling about Leeds. It was almost like you had a feeling about Newcastle. Something was terrible was going to happen. Leeds were giving off those vibes as well. So, yeah, and on a positive note, ended up with a little bit of profit on them 2 games, but.
Yeah, so for me, I fancied Celtic and stupidly went with the team total. Celtic to score 2 or more was the one that let me down. Thought there would be goals in that game. But yeah, Southampton, I picked Southampton at the start of the playoffs. I picked them again coming into this game. And as you say, Leeds started quite brightly, better of the 2 sides until the Southampton goal, I thought. But after that, created barely anything, like nothing clear-cut at all. Southampton did more than enough and deserved to go through, come up, however, lift the trophy, whatever you want to say. Always feels a bit daft to lift the trophy. Team that finished 5th in the league or whatever. But there is a trophy. And so Southampton was a good way to finish the weekend for me, having had a poor Saturday.
Come the Backish family, we knew this would happen. 18 minutes later that we gave you credit for, Courtney or Patrick, whoever it is. Congratulations. I hope you put your brand new Spider-Man pajamas on to celebrate. Good win. You've missed all the Man United chat, unfortunately. You haven't got time to recap, Courtney, so we'll just have to move on. Harry's mentioning the Premier League relegation odds, Baz, so it's worth a little look around. We said we'd carry on with a bit of news and notes, and today is featuring Harry's team, Chelsea, which is the Enzo Maresca news. At various points, it looked like De Zerbi, it looked like McKenna. We now believe McKenna is staying at Ipswich, which is what we thought. But Leicester City manager Enzo Maresca, another Pep Guardiola assistant like Arteta and company, and another Guardiola protege, Enzo Maresca is going to take over at Chelsea. I don't know what Harry thinks about it. I just don't see the difference between him and Pochettino, or the drop-off, the change. I don't get it. I don't need to get it. I don't need to understand it. I'm not bothered. They've got some good players, and he really might be able to get a tune out of them. It just seems all a little bit weird, but.
Yeah, that Pochettino going was a surprise. But then Maresca was one I didn't see. That came out of nowhere, really. A little bit of an odd one. Like you, I don't really care. Man United, we've still got no idea. Everything last week was that Ten Hag was definitely getting sacked regardless of the result. And that might be the case still. Maybe it was decided all along, but you can't do it the next day. You might have to wait a week before saying, we've looked at it in the hole and he's going. So maybe Ten Hag is still going, who knows? Or maybe the weekend did do enough for them to have a rethink. Thomas Frank's still being linked with that job now. Pochettino has been linked with that job. So who knows what's happening at Man United. But yeah, Maresca looks to be going there. And Ipswich fans will be very happy that it looks like McKenna will be going nowhere. But talking about the relegation odds, which Harry's mentioned, look a little bit odd. Leicester 4-9, minus 225. Everton 10-11, minus 110. Ipswich the same price, 10-11, minus 110. You've then got Forest and Southampton at 7-4, plus 175. Then comes in Wolves 7-2, Brentford 4-1, Fulham 5-1, Bournemouth 7-1. I think the thing that stands out is the Leicester price. I assume Leicester are the favourites, not so much because of potentially losing their manager here, but there's a risk of points deduction, I think, isn't there, for Leicester?
Well, this is the thing I've actually marked down, Baz. This is a really interesting market because of the points deduction thing. We never had this before until this year. It's the first time it's ever happened. Normally, you just have to add up how many points you get during the season. So I messaged a couple of my Leicester contacts earlier on today, asking the question why. Is there going to be a fire sale of players and stuff like that? And I was told that it is the points deduction. They'll almost certainly start the season with a points deduction. They will also have to sell players, which brings us on to a little possible bet that I've mentioned to you this morning. Dave Horan's Duffel Coat episode, issue 19, £2.10, works down at Newcastle United sometimes. He was doing an under-18 game, Baz, a couple of weeks ago, and there was 3 scouts there, and they were talking about Keane and Dewsbury Hall having signed somewhere, and they were amazed at how quickly he'd signed and that it was a done deal, blah, blah, blah. The only problem we've got is Dave doesn't know which team it was, although he thinks it was Manchester United. Now, like I say, I contacted my Leicester people today, and they said that would make sense. Dewsbury Hall's a Man United fan. So Dewsbury Hall is up at 5-1 on Sky Bet to join Manchester United. So the thing to do is risk a tenner if you want. You might get yourself a free dinner, or wait for a plunge. If you see one day, I mean, refresh it every 20 minutes. If you see him go 92, 4-1, 7-2, he might just disappear off the board. But look for a bit of Dewsbury Hall news because, like I say, we think, well, the information we've got is that he's gone somewhere, and the signs are that he's gone to Manchester United. So, so that's why Leicester are trading at minus 227, like less than 2-1 on.
I assumed similar for Everton.
Sorry, Man City, you said were 33-1 last week, and I went to 28. So someone's had a little bit on. they've contracted 5 points even since last week. So going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I assumed Everton was similar. I thought Everton are too short at 10-11 for me, I think. I wouldn't back them to be relegated at that price. But I didn't know, because the whole financial fair play has worked on a 3-year cycle, whether they've still got some of the problem carrying over. I mean, there's also still a chance Everton could go into liquidation or something if this takeover doesn't go through. Aren't they absolutely mortgaged to the hilt? So we'll see. I thought Everton were a bit short. The one that stood out for me in the relegation market is West Ham. I like a bit of West Ham at a big price, 16-1 for West Ham to be relegated. New manager, no idea how that's going to go.
What's his name, Buzz?
Lopetegui. Funnily enough, I was listening to Talk Sport the other day, and they'd done a little montage of Talk Sport presenters who'd fucked his name up. So I wasn't the only one. I was a little. I was going to try and clip it up and bring it on actually, and then forgot all about it. But West Ham at 16s interests me a little bit. They finished the season on 52 points. 33 of them came in the first half of the season and 19 in the second half of the season. There's a massive drop-off in West Ham in the second half. There's a big chance they could lose Paquetá for a long time.
Yeah.
And as I say, a new manager coming in, you never know how that's going to go. But if Paquetá gets a big ban, that's a massive blow for them. And it'd be interesting to see what price there would be if that comes to fruition. But 16s at this point looks interesting for me for West Ham.
Yeah, agree with you. If we go to the top of the table, I mean, I've got no real leans at this point. Man City are 9-10, minus 111. Arsenal 9-4, plus 225. Then we've got Liverpool 8-1, Chelsea 20-1, Man United 25s, Newcastle 25s, Tottenham 33s, and Villa 50s. It's 150-1 bar. I mean, nothing blows my skirt up there at all at the minute, Bars. I wouldn't be getting involved in that, you?
Come the start of the season, if Man City are available at 10-11 again, I'd probably take them again because they just do it again and again. And the way they finish the season again this season, like they do every year, I think with Liverpool in particular, there's potential for a drop off there. Regardless of what we say for Klopp, it's a massive change at Anfield, having him been there for so long. Arne Slot might do a good job, but will he do it straight away? And will players all stick around? There was a lot of talk that Salah might move on. Will anyone else see Klopp's departure as an opportunity for them to sort of move on and explore new opportunities? So Liverpool, I wouldn't want anything to do with. And if they drop away from it, can Arsenal... Do you think Arsenal have got it in them to have another season as strong as they did this year? I still think they need a couple of additions. And I don't know where they stand financially because they did spend a lot last year. Arsenal, I reckon, just about did the maximum they could do this season. And whether they can do that again or whether that could be enough next season, maybe Man City will do a bit less and it'll be enough for Arsenal to win it. Don't get me wrong, I think Arsenal will be up there competing again. But I think they sort of peaked in terms of their points total. And for that reason, I think City would still interest me at close to evens. But we'll see where we are at the start of the season once we've seen a bit of transfer activity. Callum's in the chat saying he thinks there'll be a bit of a drop-off from Arsenal. I think there's potential there because they did, as I say, they hit a very high level in the second half of the season in particular. Whether they can repeat that again, don't get me wrong. If they sign Isak or something like that from Newcastle, then absolutely I'd be expecting them to potentially go better. But we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any improvement to come from Arsenal. That would be the thing. Can they improve again? Because they've improved sort of year on year. For them to improve again, that's a big ask. And I think there's got to be some kind of hangover from the back end of the season as well. The top four market, Baz, is probably more interesting than the Championship one. There's 8 teams all trading at single-figure odds. So it is quite competitive. And that's the other thing that would make it more competitive at the top, I think. Obviously, you've got City 10-1 on, Arsenal 4-1 on, Liverpool 2-1 on. Then everyone else is odds against. Chelsea 11-8 plus 137. Newcastle 7-4. Man United 2-1. Tottenham 2-1. Villa 3-1. So with all of those teams possibly taking points off each other, that just throws the cat amongst the pigeons. And the one that stands out to me without being a homer, Baz, is Newcastle at 7-4. Not having that. You're not having Europe to deal with. Obviously, it depends on if we do get ransacked for Bruno and Isak or what have you. Or we might, sometimes you have to take a step back to take a step forward. But if we can go full tilt, 38 games with the squad of players we've got, you've only got to look to 2 seasons ago, how we improved. And I think we can improve again. So I think 7-4 looks a good price, but.
Yeah, I definitely think there's improvement in Newcastle, provided we keep a few players fit and make a few additions in the summer. Whether I'd get involved in them at 7-4, because I think the top 4 is really competitive. That's all. I think Newcastle have got a chance, but there are, as you say, 7 or 8 teams that are all live runners in it, which is good for the league in terms of competitiveness. So yeah, whether I'd get involved at 7-4, I absolutely think we'll be better next season. I mean, what was the difference? How far off were we from the top 4? There's a big gap to make up, but definitely potential there.
Okay, well, we've got one game, the Europa Conference League Final, to have a look at for Wednesday night. I'll tell you first about Rhythm, which is spelled, if you're wondering, RITHMM. And it's the app that you need for your NBA player props. Rhythm gives you a menu of the best player props for every single NBA playoff game, making it easy to go through. Find the best props to put your money on in seconds. Rhythm's predictions are backed by over 3 years of data and a load of data scientists. Give you the best chance of winning. Make a DFS lineup or for betting. Rhythm's got the best player prop lines, all backed by AI data, without you needing to endlessly scroll on a sportsbook. So RITHMM is available wherever you get your apps. Don't bet the NBA without Rhythm. Download Rhythm now. Start a 7-day trial of NBA. And there's WNBA, golf, and all sorts of things on there too. Okay. So, game on Wednesday night is an 8 o'clock kickoff. The game will be played in Athens. It's at the AEK Stadium. So a bit of a home game for Olympiakos. Olympiakos take on Fiorentina. Olympiakos are 2-1. The draw is 9-4, and Fiorentina are 23-17 plus 135 to lift the trophy. 11-10 plus 110. Olympiakos 4-6 minus 150. Fiorentina. Barry's away. He's had enough. He's absolutely full. He's had it. So yeah, like I say, the first angle is it's a little bit of a home game for Olympiakos. They're just based kind of around the corner. More madness in Greek football again at the weekend. I don't know if you saw the Greek Cup final, and it was Panathinaikos against somebody, and that famous French referee, the female Stephanie Rappart, I think it is. For a start, the game was already being played behind closed doors because they're just too busy kicking off with each other. And then all hell broke loose at the end. She had to get a police escort off the pitch to old Stephanie. So that was the end of that. Olympiakos finished third in the league. They do a little Scottish thing where they split into two, a championship group and a relegation group. But Olympiakos finished third in that. Their season finished on May the 19th. So they have had a nice little rest. And the form was okay. I really, really underestimated them against Villa. And I did tell that little story. It was when I went in the bookies and read that Racing Post article. And the bloke was glowing about Olympiakos, someone who knows more than me, obviously, a Greek correspondent. And obviously, Olympiakos are a very decent side. They won both legs against Villa in the semi. They won both legs by 2 goals. They won 4-2 and 2-0. That's really strong form. In this competition, they played 8 games, won 6 and lost 2. They had a really weird 4-1 home defeat to Tel Aviv, but won 6-1 away from home and progressed on aggregate in that. And that's because they finished third in the Europa League. That's why they've only played 8 games. So they're actually in the same group as West Ham in the Europa League, finished third and ended up in this competition. In Europe in general, Olympiakos have lost 6 of 7 against Italian opposition. And the striker, El Kaabi, the big lad, Ayoub El Kaabi, is in really good form. Fit squad, Olympiakos as well. They've got no injuries to speak of whatsoever. So Olympiakos are going into this with lots of ticks in boxes, good form, everybody fit. I'd say a home game in everything else apart from exact location. Fiorentina finished 8th in Serie A. They did win 4 of the last 6 games. Plenty of goals. Both teams have scored in 6 of their last 7. A little bit of experience in this competition. Lost to West Ham in last year's final. They're unbeaten in the competition this year. Won 6 and drawn 6, which is a bit of a weird record. So it's not like they've been smashing everybody. They scored a late goal in each leg in the semi against Bruges and really got out of jail. Struck me, Baz, a little bit like the Leverkusen thing that they'd kind of gotten away with it a couple of times. They squeezed past Victoria Pilsen in extra time in the round before that. So I think Fiorentina have carried their luck. I like Olympiakos to lift the trophy, Baz. But that no defeats in 12 in this competition is a hard stat to ignore. This is pretty much exactly what I did last week for the Europa League. And I should have been braver in taking Atalanta. I haven't learned a lesson. You know me. I'm not keen on learning lessons. I'm going to take... There's plenty of data for a start for both teams to score. So if you want a goal bet, that's 5 to 6. It's minus 120. It's not prohibitive at all. Both teams to score. But Olympiakos to lift the trophy, Baz, is going to be my play at 11 to 10 plus 110.
On mute for a second there. Yeah, I thought, I mean, I got a lot of the similar notes to you, but I did think where you mentioned Fiorentina sort of rode their luck a bit. I thought Olympiakos has sort of stuttered the way through some of this. They got themselves into the competition as a consolation for not getting out of their group in the Europa League. So they were originally in the next tier up. Couldn't get out of a group with West Ham, Freiburg, and Baka Topola. Do you know where Baka Topola are from?
Yeah, it's in Serbia, Barry. Come on,
Serbia.
fucking hell.
Well,
I'm an oracle at this, man.
then
It's
sort
getting
of,
dark.
they got past Ferencvaros comfortably, but they had to overturn a 4-1 deficit against Maccabi Tel Aviv. They needed penalties to get past Fenerbahce, who are a decent side, but I think they've sort of scraped their way through. You're right, Fiorentina have had their struggles along the way as well. But where Olympiakos do deserve the credit is how easily they dispatched Villa. I think I'd done the same. I underrated them coming into that Villa game. 6-2 aggregate win. You've mentioned Fiorentina played 14 and not lost a single one. And I thought, really looking at the form for both teams across Europe, there wasn't enough there to really make too many conclusions or comparisons, because both of them are playing some pretty average opponents throughout this competition. So it's hard to sort of compare the two runs. I looked at the goals, and Olympiakos are a bit of a mixed bag. In this tournament, they've gone under 2.5 in 4 of the last 8. In the other 4, they went over 4.5. So it's either low scoring or absolutely nuts. 4-2s, 5-1s, 5-0s all over the place. So one way or the other. But the Fiorentina form for goals in this competition is, again, it's mixed. But if you look at them in all competitions recently, they've seen both teams to score in 8 straight games now, Fiorentina. So they're not keeping clean sheets. 7 of the 8 games went over 2.5 goals. So you've mentioned the both teams to score being a good pick at 5-6. I like the over 2.5 goals here, because I think I couldn't split the two. I think I like your idea of going Olympiakos at the prices. Olympiakos would probably be the way I would go. But I think the over 2.5 at a plus money price, 23-20, so plus 115, I think is a decent price. So for me, I'm going to go with over 2.5 goals. It's where I leaned towards last week in the Europa League, and I ended up going for Leverkusen goals. And had I just stuck to my guns and went with the over 2.5, because that was a plus money price as well last week, I'd have picked a winner, but I didn't. So I'm going to pick a winner this week. Over 2.5 goals, 23-20. And I'm going to take the over 3.5 at 3-1 as well. I think this could be quite an open game. That's where I've started. I've got a couple of other picks, though. And I like a pick in the corners market. And Michael's already beat me to it in the chat. But Fiorentina corners, over 5.5 corners for Fiorentina is 11-10, plus 110. 7 of their last 10 in this competition have seen 7 or more, including the last 3 straight games. And Olympiakos have given up 6 corners straight and 4 straight as well. Fiorentina's form just looks really good for corners. So the over 5.5 Fiorentina corners is 11-10. I like that. And I'm going to take a scorer. It's Olympiakos. You've mentioned him, El Kaabi. Scored 5 over the 2 legs against Villa. And he scored 15 in European competition already this year. He's 9-4 anytime, which I think is a really big price. I've just mentioned Fiorentina haven't had a clean sheet in 8. If Olympiakos are getting on a score sheet, he's your favourite. 9-4 anytime, and I like 16-1 for him to score 2 or more. So that's El Kaabi, 9-4 to score, and 16-1 to score 2 or more.
There's a definite bet builder in this chat, Baz. It's like we're building one. So we've got over 4.5 cards from Harry. He likes the referee angle in there. Michael throws in Quinny, Quini for Olympiakos, being booked in his last 4 games. So we haven't got a price, so we'll get Quinny in there. Over 3.5 offsides at 4-5. And then the Fiorentina corners from Michael. So the lads have done they've done everyone's work for them. So go and write all that stuff down, and we'll have ourselves a couple of winners. I think that's just about it, Baz. We got through that without crying too much and pretending we're not bothered about Man United. Lloydo did join in the chat. I forgot to say hello to him. Lloydo, hello, mate. Congratulations. You missed us talking about how delighted we are for you earlier on. Don't want to rehash that. Anything to add, Baz?
Lloydo's a Liverpool fan, man.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, he just takes the piss out of Newcastle, doesn't he?
Absolutely, aye.
Yeah. Boo. Right. What are we doing? Wednesday night, Champions League. Is that the plan?
Wednesday night, Champions League. Yes, that's my plan. And then you can catch me, I think, on Thursday night. I'm going to be on the main show, Malcolm.
Yes,
you've handed the duties over to me to go on with Sean and Ryan and talk Champions League. So if anyone wants to tune into that as well, You might already know what I'm going to say because I'll have recorded this one on Wednesday night. But,
all you have to do, Baz, when you go on there with Sean and Ryan, is just make some stupid phrases up. They don't even have to be real phrases. Stupid English phrases, and really ham up your Geordie accent. They'll have you eating out the palm of your hand. I don't need to go back on now because I picked that 20-1 horse the last time I was on. So I've got to be careful now. I'm golden. I really should walk off. I just need to stay out.
I'm feeling the pressure. I need to find a big ladder. I need to find a big ladder for that Champions League.
You do, yeah.
Champions League final. We'll see where we go. But
yeah, don't let the whole squad down. So, on Wednesday night, Callum and Lee and everybody else needs to come with that A game. Everyone needs to come with their A game. So Barry can go on the mothership on Thursday and wow everyone with some kind of gigantic 500-1 bet builder and keep the show in business for another year. Right. Thanks, everyone, for being kind to us in our delicate state. I've probably got about 12 minutes to go and get the Slug Pro RS in action before I do the baseball show in a little bit. Callum keeps coming in the baseball show, Baz. He's hooked now. He's an MLB fanatic. Callum, he loves it. Wednesday night, Champions League picks. Good luck if you're having a bet in the Conference League this week. We will see you down the road. Cheers.